Good day, everyone. I am Jeremy Sinimba, and welcome to today's environmental auditing agenda. With respect to all audience, I am very present to introduce you our topic, environmental auditing. Literally, auditing means calculating, examining, and quantifying magnitude of certain factors. No wondering that you may come up with burdensome works. However, these works are more interesting than it sounds. Well, environmental auditing is an environmental management tool which measures the impact of industrial activities in the environment against set standards and criteria, compromising systematic, documented, periodic, and objective. There are two types of environmental auditing. One is the compliance audit, and second is the management audit. Compliance audit is generally begin with determining the applicable compliance requirements against which the operation will be assessed. And a management audit, on the other hand, is to verify whether the organization meets stated objectives. Since when we began doing environmental fervor by making use of environmental auditing, it is necessary to refer the evolution of environmental auditing. Well, environmental auditing first came up to the show in the US in early 1970s, where a handful of industrial companies developed environmental auditing program as internal tool to help review and evaluate the status of companies' operating units. It enabled managers to check compliance with local environmental laws and regulations, national laws and regulations, and corporate policies. In 1979, the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) issued a draft report calling for independent, certified third-party auditor to perform such work. Inventory auditing became an official requirement and received considerable attention since then. And in the late 1980s, environmental auditing was widely accepted by the industry as a general management tool in developed countries, and it was increasingly adopted by developing countries and foreign industries abroad. By the end of 1980s, governments in many countries expanded their environmental activities through their commitments to the International Environmental Agreement or IEA, and improvement of environmental departments, institutions, laws, and regulations. In the end of the 20th century, seeking the mode of sustainable development was integrated into the continuous improvement of technology and trade. Overall, an increasing number of communities believe that environmental problems require national cooperation. And that is the evolution of environmental auditing. Next thing we discuss is the entire time of environmental auditing development. Well, in 1990, issues regarding sustainable development went rampant. In 1991, raised awareness of sustainable development and more effective monitoring. In 1992, Agenda 21 as the product of the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. In 1996, ISO 14000. In 1992, Agenda 21 was the product of the Earth Summit to the Rio de Janeiro, and in 1996, 14,000 series for environmental management systems and 14,001 certification is widely used in the worldwide. Well, to clarify, the ISO 14001 is a voluntary international standards for environmental management systems, or so-called EMS. And EMS is a systematic approach to the environmental issues within the organization. And in 2000, the International Organization for Social Responsibility developed the SA 800 standard. I mean, the 8000 standards, rather. The 8000 standards. Well, I guess that's all. The next discussions will be discussed with the next reporter. Bye!
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to discuss types of environmental audit. There are three types of environmental audit. First, we have environmental compliance audit. It is the environmental legal compliance criteria in a particular site. It takes into the account on what specific environmental aspects are present on a site. Therefore, it is required by legal legislation in order to meet the legal obligations. Like for example, the settlement agreements involving the DOE and other potentially responsible parties and the regulatory authorities for a clean-up of hazardous waste. Next, we have environmental performance audit. It is simply performance audit concerned with an organization's of environmental objectives. It is premised upon the organization identifying one or more environmental objectives. Next, we have environmental financial audit. It is usually defined as the performance and compliance audit that is addressing the approach taken by responsible bodies of a specific environmental problems, policies, programs, as well as in managing the environmental issues. Example for that environmental audit is that when you propose a business or a company which is engaging by the environment, so you need to comply the compliance audit, environmental performance audit, and the financial audit so that your proposal will be approved. That's all. Thank you.
Hello, I am Ethel Kate Evander from Environmental Science student. Now, I am going to report about the steps in conducting the environmental audit and importance of environmental auditing. Steps in conducting the environmental audit. Step 1. Schedule the audit. Schedule the audit are information formats produced by external auditors to aid the corporation in the compilation of specific information provided in a specific way that the audit easier. Step 2. Plan the audit. Plan the audit is an important aspect of the audit that is typically done at the start of the process to ensure that important areas receive adequate attention, possible problems are discovered quickly, work is completed quickly, and work is effectively coordinated. Step 3. Conduct the audit. Conduct the audit is an audit that carried out to check that a particular product or service adheres to the industry's laws and standards. It's more than just a checklist. It's a comprehensive report that covers everything from the industry being investigated to the form of consumer engagement. Step 4. Develop an audit report or action plan. Action plan is for audit findings demonstrates to the reader that the concerns noted will be addressed because the audit has a chance to point out when the auditor is utterly wrong. The action plan gives the report a more balanced tone. Step 5. Audit follow-up. Auditors review the sufficiency, efficacy, and timeliness of management activities in response to reported observation and suggestion, including those made by external auditors and others through a process known as follow-up. Importance of environmental auditing. The importance of environmental auditing is to assess in the attainment of compliance standards and the creation of report for regulatory authorities, to assess how policies are being implemented, liabilities must be identified, and to look at the management system. That would be all. Thank you and God bless us.
Hey there, my name is Christian and I will be the reporter on what is the benefit of environmental auditing and what is environmental impact assessment. Let's go! So how do we benefit from environmental auditing? There are actually 8 ways we can benefit from it. First is an organization can understand on how to meet with their legal requirements. With environmental auditing, we can ensure an organization's operations to comply with environmental laws and requirements. An example of this are the Philippine SGS. They offer environmental audits to assess your environmental credentials to ensure that national and international environments regulations are being met. 2. Meeting with specific statutory reporting requirements. Through environmental auditing, we can improve an organization's transparency to the stakeholders, such as the government, customers, and investors, to build and support a long-term good relationship with them. An example of this is the SGS Global Network of Experts. They have the knowledge you need to assess the environmental impacts of your organizations. 3. An organization can demonstrate that they are environmentally responsible. Through environmental auditing, we can provide an organization with the information of the performance of their environment as an input in making decisions, such as like Disney. They are determined to please companies that they have made it giant by using zero net direct greenhouse gases emission policies with all their facilities. 4. An organization can demonstrate that their environmental policy is being implemented. Through environmental auditing, we can identify environmental management systems weaknesses before they even cause problems. For example, the HP is one of the first companies that have been reported for its greenhouse gases emissions, after which they have initiated plans that are aimed in reducing emissions and cutting back on toxic substances used in manufacturing products like cartridges. 5. Understanding environmental interactions of products, services, and activities. Through environmental auditing, we can develop organizational cultures and increase environmental awareness among people within the organization. For example, Nike is keen and highlight to value the green initiatives through advertising in addition to put the great ideas into practice. Its line of sustainable products is made of environmentally preferred materials like recycled polyester. 6. Knowing their environmental risks are managed by appropriately. So, through environmental auditing, we can identify risks related to environmental responsibility and take action to implement them. For example, the company eBay has made it possible for people to exchange or reuse their goods instead of throwing them away, thus not only increasing the lifespan of these products, but also keeping them off of landfills. 7. Understanding how to develop and implement the iOS EMS. It is a providing model to follow when setting up an operating management system. 8. Improving the environmental performance and saving money. Through environmental auditing, we can identify opportunities for improvement in the environmental management and the performance to drive increased efficiency and cost savings. An example of this is Google. They demonstrate that its commitment has been going green through their initiatives, like powering its facilities with renewable energy sources, hosting farmers markets, as well as sustainable cooking seminars, and bringing goats to trim their grasses. What is environmental impact and assessment? It is defined as the assessment of the environmental consequences or plans, policy, programs, and actual projects that is prior to the decision to move forward with the proposed project actions and development. Basically saying it is a prevention assessment to avoid danger within the environment, or we could cause the danger within the environment. So it is the account to interrelated social, economics, cultural, human health impacts, both beneficial and adverse. So thank you for watching. The next reporter will be reporting. Have a great day. Bye.
Good day, everyone. I am Prieta Tasik, the last reporter for this group. So I am assigned to report about environmental impact assessment. So what is environmental impact assessment? Environmental impact assessment is a systematic process of identifying future consequences of a current or proposed action. Environmental impact assessment is used as a tool to identify the environmental, social, and economic impacts of a project prior to the decision making. So there are eight basic principles of environmental impact assessments. First is transparency. Second, certainty. Third, participation. Fourth, credibility. Fifth, flexibility. Sixth is practicability. Seven, the cost and effectiveness. And the last one is accountability. So what is transparency? Transparency is the process that should have clear or easily understood requirements for environmental impact assessment content. It's to identify the factors that are to be taken into the account in decision making and acknowledge the limitations and difficulties so that all the participants can clearly understand the elements of the process. The second one is the certainty. Certainty is the process and timing of the assessments should be agreed in advance and followed by all the participants. So the third one is participation. So participation, it is the process that should provide appropriate to inform and involve the interest of the publics or all of the stakeholders, and their impacts and concerns should be addressed in the documentation and decision making. The next one is the credibility. Credibility is the process that should be carried out with professionalism, fairness, impartially unbalanced, and be subjected in independent checks and verification. So next is the flexibility. Flexibility, it is the process that should be able to adapt to deal efficiently with any proposal and decision-making situation, like issue to be addressed, process time frames, and degree of public participation. The next one is practicability. Practicability is the process should result in information and outputs which assist with problem solving and are acceptable to and able to be implemented by the proponents. So the next one is cost effectiveness. It is the process that should achieve the objectives of environmental impact assessment within the limits of available information, time, resources, and the methodology. Last one is accountability. Accountability is that the decision makers are the responsible or the parties for their actions and decisions under assessment process. Example, the environmental impact assessment process should cover the life of the proposal through the project design, construction, operation, and finally the commissioning of the project. Let's proceed to the stakeholders engagement. First is the screening and scoping. It is an environmental impact assessment required to what scale? Example, the project category. It is typically required an environmental impact assessment. The project type, scale, and location determine the designation. The second one is the assessment of environmental risk. Environmental risk assessment is a process for estimating the likelihood or probability of an adverse outcome or event due to the pressures or change in environmental condition resulting from human activities. These include describing potential hazards and impacts before taking precautions to reduce the risk. The third one is mitigation. Mitigation, it is to establish the measures that are necessary to avoid or minimize or offset predict adverse impact and where appropriate to incorporate this into environmental management plan or system. The fourth one is the decision making. It is to improve or reject the proposal and establish the terms and conditions for its implementation. The decision of environmental clearance arrived through number of steps including evaluation and environmental impact assessment. The last one is the monitoring. Monitoring should be done during construction and operation phase of a project. It is corrective actions that should be taken. The impact exceeds the project of the level. So that would be all. Thank you.